Yet for what feels like the millionth time, Nike is facing backlash over its treatment of WTA World No. 1, Aryna Sabalenka, after she recently disclosed that she will not be getting any bespoke outfits next year. A significant event just unfolded in the tennis world that has zero to do with a racket. Adidas executed a play that no one anticipated. A wall of silence from Nike has reportedly left Aryna Sabalenka, the planet's top player, absolutely livid. In an instant, the entire financial landscape of women's tennis was redrawn, and Alex Eala is at the very epicenter of the quake. Let's consider this question before we dive in. Should brands such as Adidas base their signings on a player's cultural impact and social media influence, or should winning championships remain the primary consideration? Share your opinion in the comments section immediately. To fully grasp what just occurred, we must first establish a fundamental rule of the sports business, because this rule is significant, and it makes the move by Adidas all the more extraordinary. For practically her entire professional career, Aryna has been affiliated with Nike. She has competed in their apparel since 2016, and prior to capturing her first major championship at the 2023 Australian Open, Sabalenka wore outfits that were nearly identical to those of other Nike-sponsored women. The principle is uncomplicated: if you win, you earn more. When you hoist the trophy, a major contract follows. When you secure the #1 ranking, you become the brand's main ambassador. This has been the prevailing model for decades in every major sport. Your performance dictates your value. Your results translate into money. The system is meant to be a merit-based one. Naomi Osaka stands as the sole female player for Nike who gets genuinely custom-designed apparel that no other woman has access to. This has generated considerable disapproval from fans, particularly from Sabalenka's supporters, given that Naomi hasn't secured a major title in almost 5 years. And for the last 4 years, Sabalenka has been Nike's top-ranked female athlete. Truly, from the moment Naomi had the Roland Garros press incident in 2021, Aryna Sabalenka has adhered to that principle perfectly. For the last 3 years, she has undeniably been one of the most commanding figures in the women's game. She has Grand Slam championships, makes consistent deep runs in every major, and is a fixture on television during the final weekends of the sport's most prestigious tournaments because she's almost always still in contention. By any conventional standard of sports marketing, Sabalenka currently represents the most dependable and valuable asset in women's tennis. She is the blue-chip investment, the assured return, the athlete around whom you construct a campaign, because her continued success and visibility are practically guaranteed. Could you tell us about this stunning cutout dress you've had on? And what can we anticipate from your on-court fashion in 2026? Sure, this dress was, let's say, a collaborative effort. Between me and Nike, I offered a lot of my concepts and managed to convince them to provide me with, in a sense, my very own dress. I think it ended up being a really fantastic design, and the fans adored it, which is crucial, so yeah. Unfortunately, for the upcoming season, it's just not going to be quite as special for me, but, right, maybe we should all begin messaging Nike's Instagram and start applying some pressure. But we should probably wait for 2027 because that year is poised to be amazing. This was a startling admission. So, as reports began to surface that Adidas, a company that has forged its entire reputation on high-performance athletes, chose to favor Alex Eala over Aryna Sabalenka, the tennis community's response was instant, forceful, and divided right down the middle between those who believe Adidas pulled off a brilliant move and those who think they just provided Sabalenka with the greatest motivation of her life. In reality, both of those viewpoints could be valid. Now, to prevent any misunderstanding, what I'm about to say is not a critique of Alex. Her accomplishments at her age with her ranking and from a nation with virtually no tennis infrastructure are nothing short of incredible. She is an immense talent. She developed her skills at the Rafael Nadal Academy. She secured the U.S. Open Junior Championship. She was the first Filipino woman to enter the WTA Top 100. She has defeated Grand Slam winners at the Miami Open on her path to the semifinals. She isn't a creation of a marketing department. She is a serious tennis player who has earned her spot in this debate. But at this moment regarding her career trajectory, Eala is an up-and-comer, a rising, developing, and incredibly exciting one, but still an up-and-comer. She hasn't claimed a major title. She is not yet delivering top-tier performances consistently at WTA events week in and week out. She's on an upward path, which is the whole point, but she has not yet attained the level Sabalenka is at. And Adidas analyzed that dynamic and effectively declared, "We see that, and it doesn't matter to us. We prefer her anyway." That move requires some analysis because it's far more complex than just a brand making an eccentric choice. This is a well-thought-out strategic wager grounded in something entirely separate from the scoreboard. Adidas is targeting the Asian market with a specific focus on the Filipino market. And for anyone who's been paying attention to what unfolds each time Alex Eala plays a match anywhere in the world, you can already grasp what Adidas is seeing. Filipino supporters don't just watch Eala compete, they materialize in huge numbers everywhere. The Australian Open shattered its all-time attendance figure for an opening Monday session. 68,687 people attended a surge largely fueled by the Filipino community that poured into Melbourne Park for Eala's main draw first appearance. The Dubai Tennis Championships featured a stadium so roaring with Filipino fan encouragement that the sound could supposedly be heard from a hotel. It's not about the stadiums, it's about the hotels. Whenever Eala posts on social media, the sheer volume of interaction makes marketing analysts question their data. The fan base in the Philippines is more than just massive. It possesses an emotional commitment that you simply can't create with a marketing budget. This is authentic generational devotion. It represents the type of bond that companies like Adidas pour hundreds of millions of dollars into, trying to artificially generate yet almost never succeed. Eala possesses it organically. It was her birthright the second she became the most celebrated tennis player in the history of the Philippines. Adidas isn't just signing a tennis player. They're securing an access point. They are establishing a foothold in one of the planet's most digitally active and sports-obsessed demographics. They are forecasting the next 10 years of market expansion in Southeast Asia and determining that Alex Eala represents the most direct possible entry into that landscape. That's a fundamentally separate discussion from who has a better current ranking on the WTA Tour. And this brings us to a sarcastic point that needs to be made. The sports marketing industry spent decades telling everyone that results were paramount. Secure the championships, and you secure the bag. But now, the very companies that championed that belief are analyzing engagement data and determining that an athlete with a fiercely loyal following in a massive developing market is more valuable than a Grand Slam winner. The goalposts weren't just shifted, they were moved to an entirely different continent. For Sabalenka, this must be painful in a uniquely specific way. Not because her tennis career needs the validation of an Adidas contract, it obviously doesn't. Her championships take care of that. But because the underlying message of this move is that the principles she adhered to, the ones she was told would lead to rewards, seem to no longer be in full effect. You followed all the rules. You achieved victory. You continued to achieve victory. And the company glanced at someone still making her way up the ranks and decided she was a better fit for their future. If you're part of Sabalenka's management, you're enraged, and you're also crunching the numbers incredibly fast because this slight, and let's call it what it is exactly that. It provides her with something that no trainer or sports psychologist could ever invent: confirmation that the corporate world underestimated her. Confirmation that she still has a point to make. Sabalenka already competes with an intensity that the majority of players on the tour can't hope to replicate. Combine that competitive spirit with this sort of external fuel, and the rest of the tour should probably brace for an even more ferocious version of the current world number one. She's going to ensure Adidas sees every single trophy celebration, every championship, every overpowering win with a competitor's logo on her shirt carrying an unmistakable message with it. And this leads us to the most significant and utterly perplexing element of this whole situation. The silence that speaks volumes more than anything that's been publicly stated. Where on earth is Nike? Honestly, where are they? For 40 years, Nike's sports marketing strategy has been built on one straightforward idea. Identify the most promising young talent on the globe and get them under contract before the competition has a chance. It's not just about getting those athletes in the swoosh. It's also about preventing anyone else from getting them. This is a defensive move just as much as it is an offensive one. Secure the rising talent. Block Adidas and Puma from their top prospects. Shape the conversation by signing the key athletes. Alex Eala seems to be precisely the type of athlete that Nike would typically never allow to slip through their fingers. She's young, has a captivating backstory, trained with Rafael Nadal, one of Nike's most legendary tennis ambassadors, and she holds sway over a gigantic, incredibly devoted fan base in a critical emerging market. She has already proven her ability to perform at the sport's most elite levels. She meets literally every single criterion on Nike's historic checklist for a budding tennis prospect, and yet there is nothing. No reported counterproposal. No news of Nike putting up a fight for her. Not a word. Just Adidas waltzing in and apparently having a completely open lane to sign her, while the most formidable brand in sports history just stood by and watched it happen. There are only 3 plausible reasons for this, and none of them paint a very good picture for Nike. The first possibility is that they simply overlooked her. Their talent spotting and evaluation team assessed Eala focused on her current ranking and concluded she wasn't a top priority just yet. They judged her based on her match results rather than her cultural resonance. If this is the case, it's a catastrophic error in judgment. It would be the tennis parallel to the time a Nike executive fumbled Steph Curry's name during a presentation and then denied him a signature line of shoes. He subsequently signed with Under Armour and went on to become one of the most commercially triumphant athletes in the history of basketball. Nike has made this exact kind of blunder in the past. We might be witnessing history repeat itself. The second possibility is a financial one. Nike has been going through a genuinely tough period. Their stock has been unstable. They've surrendered considerable market share in the running shoe space to brands like Hoka and On Running, which were barely on the radar as serious competition a decade back. They have undergone several waves of corporate reorganization and employee layoffs. It is conceivable that they were simply unable to compete with the offer Adidas presented. If a company that for decades was the undisputed financial titan of sports marketing can no longer outspend a rival for an up-and-coming tennis star, it paints a deeply troubling picture of Nike's current position. The third possibility is a strategic withdrawal from the sport of tennis entirely. Roger Federer made the switch from Nike to Uniqlo, and other athletes have also started to part ways. It's possible Nike has silently concluded that the revenue from tennis footwear doesn't justify the kind of massive investment a contract with EA would demand. They might be funneling their resources into basketball and football, essentially letting the tennis market go to their competitors. If that's the path they're taking, it would represent a true changing of the guard. For decades, Nike has shaped the visual style and commercial side of professional tennis. Stepping back from that would be an enormous statement. But the most concerning part of Nike's lack of response isn't any of those individual scenarios. It's the utter silence. Usually, when a brand gets outplayed for a top talent, there's some kind of public relations spin, a strategic leak, or a statement that casts it as a calculated move instead of a loss. Nike isn't even attempting that. They've just gone completely quiet. And in the sports marketing industry, when a competitor goes silent, it typically signals one of two things. They are either gearing up for a huge move that we can't see yet, or they were genuinely caught off guard and are scrambling to figure out what to do. No matter the reason, Adidas is not waiting around to see how it plays out. They're on the attack. They've spotted a weakness and are exploiting it. Securing a deal with Eala is about more than the sport of tennis. It's about securing a market position. This is Adidas planting its flag in Southeast Asia and declaring that they are the future of global branding. They are heading toward the areas where the next wave of consumers is emerging the fastest. The message is that they aren't waiting for the market to come to them. It's a bold corporate strategy presented as a mere sponsorship deal. The pressure that is now on EA herself is significant and shouldn't be overlooked. When a company gives you a contract that many people feel should have gone to the world's #1 player, you instantly get a target on your back. Every single early tournament exit will be pointed to as proof that the company made a poor choice. Every single match she loses against Sabalenka, and they are sure to play often, will be cast as a judgment on Adidas's decision. The buzz surrounding her will only grow louder, but she has dealt with this kind of attention before. She managed the pressure at the Australian Open when the hopes of an entire country rested on her in her first ever Grand Slam main draw. She proved herself in Dubai, advancing to the quarterfinals of a WTA 1000 event and facing Coco Gauff in a stadium full of her own fans. She has demonstrated time and again that she isn't intimidated by the big stage. This, however, is an entirely different kind of pressure. This is the weight of commercial expectations laid on top of the existing pressures of competition. She is going to have to perform on both stages. Sabalenka, on the other hand, needs to dominate every opponent and make Adidas regret their decision not to sign her every single day. Knowing her personality, she'll probably aim to do just that. And Nike had better wake up, because the story being told right now is that they were outsmarted. The story is that a rival entered their domain, pinpointed the next superstar in a rapidly expanding market, and signed her while Nike was seemingly asleep at the wheel. That's a huge blow to their reputation on top of whatever other financial or strategic problems are going on. The score on the tennis court will continue to be measured in points, but the score in the world of sports business is being kept in a very different way. And in this specific game, Adidas is currently on top. They just took one of the biggest risks in the entire history of women's tennis. Nike has gone dark, and reports say Sabalenka is getting ready to make everyone pay for it. This whole affair is just getting interesting, and we will be covering every single move. If you want to know what happens next, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. You are not going to want to miss what's coming.